everybody. Hope you had a great week watching all of the craziness in sports, Major League Baseball, NFL, college. We've got a lot to talk about today. I'm here with the amazing producer Bailey King. Lazyboy is out today, but that's okay because we're gonna keep it rocking. What we got, Bailey?
We had a lot of games, good games this week, a lot of tight ones. Starting off with the Eagles, they won their Thursday night football game, 29-17 against the Texans. Uh, for only 8-0 team, what do you think about them?
8-0 team. The Eagles are the best team in NFC. I'm gonna say that. Um, San Francisco, I just I want to see the consistency. If San
Mm,
Francisco can do what they did before the bye week, I know Christian McCaffrey's not going to catch a touchdown, run for a touchdown, and throw a touchdown every week. Hell, he might. But if they can kind of produce on offense the way they have with that defense, that Eagles 49ers matchup is going to be where you're going to go. AFC side, okay, the Jets beat the Bills. I'm still waiting on the Jets to be the Jets. They have amazing defense, but
mm.
it's the Jets, so who knows what's going to happen? The Jets are known. They could go on a 4-game losing streak out of nowhere. But hey, Buffalo is 0-2 against the AFC East, and they are 6-0 against everybody else. They have lost to the Dolphins. They have lost to the Jets. People will still say, hey, well, they lost to the Dolphins, but half their secondary was missing. And I'll say again, half your secondary is missing is not an excuse for your offense not to score any points. Okay.
Mhm. I mean,
So,
you have a generational quarterback, they're saying, and he's throwing 2 picks against the Jets.
yeah.
All fair. They are 6-3 right now. They're
Well,
they're good.
the amount of interceptions Josh Allen has thrown since week 1 of last year is staggering, though. He's
Yep.
still got to clean that part. I think the amazement of Josh Allen has kind of disguised the interceptions.
I
Uh,
think I think he almost he's a very risky quarterback, I think, and that definitely gets him in trouble sometimes. Clearly, last night it did. Um,
so, do you think sometimes it's an overconfidence in your arm? Like when quarterbacks, some quarterbacks, when they get really, really, really good and they get put on that pedestal, it's
mm,
I can complete any pass I throw.
I think it is. I think he's trying to almost prove to himself that he is right there with Mahomes. And
Hmm.
all credit. He's close. I think he's not quite there. He hasn't won what Mahomes has won. But I think he's trying to prove, like I said, to himself, and that gets him in a little trouble sometimes.
Yeah, it's the crucial mistakes. But the guy is scary on third down. I
He,
swear, every time he's playing, it's like 3rd and 11. I'm like, is he going to run for 15 yards?
he,
That's
he
my
does
thought every time they get a third down.
he doesn't care. He'll hit anyone. He's not afraid of being hit. He wants. I think he just wants all the smoke. Honestly,
Yeah, he does. Oh, the Colts. I see you got the
they're
Colts for me next. Oh,
they're bad. They're really bad.
They- I didn't think I would be saying this year, but I saw Houston play such a good game against Philly. They may
Mm.
have moved above Colts, and now the Colts might be the worst team in the NFL.
I would have to agree. You have Jonathan Taylor coming off one of the best seasons you've seen out of a running back, and the times he is in, he's not good. The times he's out, they don't have anyone.
Yeah. And people have said that a lot. Jonathan Taylor, but King Henry and Chubb keep saying, "Hey, don't forget we're here."
Right, right. Derek was running all over the Chiefs last night. I just
Well,
don't.
they didn't run him as much as they could have, and I think it's because of the heavy load he had the week before. He
Yeah,
ran the ball 32 times the week before, and they're not trying to do that thing because he is the offense where they just run him into the ground every week. Because he had 2 big runs, and he came out a lot.
hmm
I understand he comes out sometimes when it's third down situation because their running back is a better receiving back, but he came out a lot, even on some short distance, and that's rightfully so. They are they're 5-3. If they beat all the teams they're supposed to beat, They'll make the playoffs, and you
Mhm.
need that guy as fresh as possible.
Do you think that they almost held him out because they weren't confident that they were going to beat the Chiefs, but they knew they still had? I mean, they're still first in their division, so they didn't necessarily need the win. Do you think they kind of knew they were going to lose that game?
No, because that's not how Mike Vrabel thinks, and that's not how football
Yeah.
players think. They're thinking of getting that win because you got to remember there's no undefeated team in the AFC East.
Yep.
There are teams with 2 and 3 losses that are in the lead for division. Anyone can claim the number one spot right now, and you would rather play in your home than anyone else's. So no, they were trying to win that game. It's just they always say the backup quarterback is the most popular guy in the town. For people who are trashing on Ryan Tannehill, now you see why you need Ryan Tannehill. I'm not
Hmm.
saying Malik Willis is not going to be better than uh, Ryan Tannehill, but there's a reason why he's the starter
Yeah, I mean, he
because
threw,
they were missing some passing last night
I believe,
and last week.
five. It was five completions on 16 attempts. You're not going to win many games like that.
Yeah, well, they almost won. Hey, Tim Tebow won games
That's true.
in the NFL, completing 5 passes, but they were in the driver's seat to win. It's just down the
Yeah.
stretch they did not do well. They cannot afford to be in third and long situations. It has to be third and short.
Especially against the Chiefs. I think the Chiefs are they're a very clutch team. I think they've proved it in and out, and you don't clearly want to go to overtime with them.
Yeah, well,
Um,
if you go in overtime, you better win the coin toss. But you don't want they don't want to be in third and long with anybody. They don't even want to be in third and long with the Colts.
no, I mean they have no weapons. They have Michael Pittman, but you don't have anybody thrown into him.
Yeah, so that's part of the problem.
What about Rams and Bucks? Brady finally gets
And Bucks.
Brady finally Brady finally gets his game-winning drive, 100,000 yard
Well,
passing club.
did did he though? This is one of those, and I used to hate this cliche, especially when it was against my team, where they say, "Did the Bucks win or did the Rams lose?" The Rams did everything they could to lose that game.
They've
Like,
been
uh, go ahead.
they've been doing everything they can to lose every game this year.
Doom, doom, shh. Just like, what was the coverage? Hey, we're gonna keep everything in front of us, but we'll let you have the sidelines, even though you have no timeouts. We'll just let you keep completing
Yeah, I
20-yard
mean,
passes. There is like Tom Brady, the comeback king. Anyone, the Titans' backup quarterback would have been able to make those throws if no
mhm.
pressure, and we're gonna give you 20 yards of sideline completions.
I mean, you knew exactly where they're going. They were going out of
Oh,
bounds, and
it,
each
it,
receiver had about 5 yards of space each time he was going out of bounds.
Yeah, and then when they got on the goal line, hey, hello, there is no timeouts. They're not running because if
Yeah,
they get ran and stopped, the time is gonna run out. Like, what are we doing?
it's not like it's especially with Brady on the ball. They're going to give him the ball. They're
And
not
Cooper
going to.
Kupp may have cut back to get almost even closer to the first down, but he just slid. I don't. I just they were playing not to lose. I think Bill Belichick is the one that famously said uh, he's seen so many coaches coach into a loss, something
Mhm.
like that. I'm paraphrasing. Like more games are coached into a loss than they are into a win
With
because
that being said, though, I mean it's Sean McVay. Clearly, he's had a lot of success in the league. Do you think it's the team, or do you think it's him?
no, it's not him. It's just people do this thing where a coach has one bad year and it's like, oh my God, he's lost his edge. Nah, they've got problems, glaring problems,
Yeah.
offensive line problems. Their defense is still playing great. If they have a close game or the lead, their defense is immaculate.
Hmm.
If they get down like they did against Buffalo or any other team, that's when it can be a problem because now that team can run, run, run instead of passing, and you kind of neutralize the Aaron Donald effect.
Yeah, I mean there's only so much you can do. Also with that offensive line, leading rusher was Daryl Henderson with 56 yards. I mean you're not going to win.
They
You
are
can't. You
5
can't.
seconds away from calling uh, Whitworth out of retirement, but he ain't coming.
You just. I don't think you can win any games without an offensive line and a run game.
Hmm.
Clearly, they're 3-5 right now. I mean, same thing with Colts. They have no run game. They're not doing anything.
Seattle, depending on the 49ers, Seattle might win that division with Geno Smith, who is playing better
Mm-hmm.
than Russell Wilson. Just gonna
100%.
sit that right
100%. It's not even. I don't even think it could be a question. He is playing out of his mind right now. I feel like. I mean, he's leading them to success. He just beat the Cardinals with a fully healthy Cardinals mostly. James Conner's back.
If it wasn't for Patrick Mahomes, if it wasn't for Lamar Jackson, if it wasn't for Josh Allen, if it wasn't for Jalen Hurts, because these are the teams that have been pumped up the most during the season, Geno Smith would be in consideration for MVP for what he is doing in Seattle and Pete Carroll Coach of the Year. Because everyone said, hey, it's time for Pete to go. They're trading away Wilson. It's over. And I keep saying, what has Russell Wilson done since the Legion of Boom?
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely nothing. And Geno Smith is producing just as well as him or better than he was when he was in Seattle.
I would have to agree. I mean, he's the Legion of Boom. Clearly, that defense was amazing.
Yes,
Defense is
you
going
can
to win
afford to
championships.
make mistakes when your defense is that. You remember the Ravens of 2000, 2001, 2002? Do you remember the quarterback? No. They were able to make mistakes. They would go for it on 4th and 1 on their own 30-yard line because the other team would get 6 yards of offense.
Mm-hmm.
So when you have that much trust in your defense, you can cover up mistakes on offense and shortcomings. All Russell Wilson had to do in Seattle was not turn the ball over, and every now and then, when David Baldwin broke free or Tyler Lockett, make that big play, and then the defense would do the rest. And we nominated him king of the world. Okay,
Because he could throw a deep ball.
and here we go.
And, I mean, I think Geno will produce way more down in the future for the Seahawks than Russell Wilson ever could have.
Oh, Bailey.
I,
Okay,
he's
woo.
he's already doing it. They're 6-3. I mean,
Well, see, some people are going to misconstrue that. They're going to think you're talking about, well, he's got to win a Super Bowl. That's not what we're talking about.
no,
The Seahawks went to 2 Super Bowls and then they weren't heard of again. Um, but
they're
all he has to do is win 10, 11 games for the rest of his Seahawk tenure and play like he is now, and and that's it. Because he doesn't have. It's more impressive because Geno Smith doesn't have a Legion of Boom.
no. They have a good defense, but not anything amazing.
Yeah,
They're good enough to keep them in a game where Geno Smith can do what he needs to do.
I feel crazy because Bo isn't here and Lazyboy isn't here, and I don't have anybody throwing out fake stats and bad
Yeah.
takes. So I'm discombobulated right now.
What about the Bears and Dolphins, that shootout?
Woo! The shootout that shouldn't have been a shootout. I don't know why the Dolphins didn't. Well, listen. Sometimes we yell at the coaches, and maybe that's what was drawn up. Maybe it was drawn up for the players to contain Justin Fields, and people kept breaking containment. Because I saw this idiot on Twitter say, we just traded for Bradley Chubb, and he did absolutely nothing. Because we have these sports fans that if it's not an interception or a sack, the lineman or the cornerback didn't do anything. That's not the only measurement. Bradley Chubb had a very high win rate against the Bears, but someone else has to do something. Bradley Chubb and Jalen Phillips, who Dolphin fans that I've seen criticize the most because they don't. Jordan Phillips doesn't have 90 sacks. They are two. They're in the top 4 of win rates this year for defensive linemen.
I mean, people are
Phillips,
just.
I said Jason Phillips, by the way. Phillips and Chubb, top 2.
Mhm.
I mean,
I feel like
top 4.
I think people just look at the highlights and that's all they want to see. They don't see the actual game where people are like doing their job. Like you're gonna look at linemen and you're gonna be like, well, he could be terrible and he could be one of the greatest because you're not gonna see the stats. You're not seeing what he's doing.
Right. That's why the all 22 that comes on is such an amazing thing. It's such an
Mhm.
amazing thing. And the impressive thing that the Bears did was the Dolphins, even though they've had some high scoring games, a lot of the teams' points that they've played have come in the first half. They have been locking down teams in the second half.
Yeah, but it
So
is that it is when they do slip up, their defense is truly their. I think that's their kryptonite right now.
it's your kryptonite if you lose. The only
Yep.
games they've lost this year is when their quarterback was out.
Yeah.
Didn't play a full game. We'll count the Bengals one too. Every game that Tua has played a complete game, they are 5-0.
But does I mean you see who they lose to badly? They lost. I would think it was the Jets.
They lost to the Jets with their. They went through two quarterbacks that game, and half their secondary was gone.
But look how many points they were scored against. The
That's what I
Jets
just
put up
said.
40,
I
41,
know
42,
exactly what I just said.
and the
So,
quarterback's not on defense.
so I gave. So let's take the thing that I said about Buffalo when they played Miami, and people said half of Buffalo's secondary was out. Well, that's no excuse. They still had Stephon Diggs and Josh Allen.
Mm,
You're telling me half my secondary is going to be out, and I'm going to flip back and forth between Teddy Bridgewater and Skylar Thompson? No,
yeah.
no. Your defense can only take so many 3-and-outs. That's the
Yep.
thing a lot of people don't get. When they watch a game that's close and then it gets blown out, go look and see how many 3-and-outs that offense has had. Your defense, I don't care, unless you're the 85 Bears, the Killer Bee Dolphins, the 2000 to 2003 Ravens, or the Legion of Boom, your offense, you have to have an all time defense if you're going to keep going 3-and-out, 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 3-and-out.
Yeah. You need healthy, solid, solid people in there.
You're a defensive player. You just sat down and you're putting your helmet back on. Like, I just sat down. I
Right.
got Gatorade, I sat down, and now I'm back on the field again.
Right.
Do that 7 times in a row and tell me how you feel.
You think Justin Fields is? You think he's proving himself to be a starter? Or you think he's just had a couple good games and we need
He's
to?
been proving himself since the first week. We talked about this a couple weeks ago. Everybody else do something. We were
Yeah.
seeing drop passes. We were seeing him not. Well, he still wasn't well protected in this game. He
No.
just escaped and ran.
Yeah. He
The
ran for.
Dolphins were pressuring him the entire game. They just did a terrible job at containing him.
He ran
But
for
still,
178 yards rushing.
yeah, I thought he was going to get to 200.
I mean,
I,
that's already impressive.
I literally thought he was going to get to 200. I was sitting next to two Bears fans while I was watching that game.
I was sitting next to one in that final drive. He walked away. He had to walk outside after that.
Yeah, well, you know what fans will do? Like, the Bears fan that I said to said it perfectly because his wife was a Bears fan as well. But somebody said, "Oh, I said that should have been pass interference," and I'll take that they didn't call it because I'm a Miami fan. But that should
Right.
have been pass interference, and I already know the people are going to say the refs screwed them. And you know what he said? The refs didn't score 35 points.
Yeah.
People always talk about the refs screwed you. The refs did not score 35 points.
I think that play on Claypool. I mean, you had two guys dragging him down. That could have easily helped them tie the game, but it was the rest of the game that they could have
Yeah.
helped themselves.
Yes, Jimmy Johnson famously said it at the U. He said, if you put it in the hands of the refs, you're going to lose the game. Take care of business.
Hmm.
He said, if you
Every time.
take care of business, you don't have to worry about the refs.
Every time. Mahomes throwing 68 passes, or threw it 68 times, completed 43 times.
Well,
That that
yeah,
was that was
that,
a lot.
that was what?
That was a lot.
That was a lot, but it's Patrick Mahomes. Moving on.
Do you think he needs more help, or do you think he's just trying to
Ooh,
do too much?
what do you mean does he need more help? He
Well,
completed passes to everyone. What
he
more
was
help do
their
you want to give him?
he was their leading rusher. He threw for 68 times.
For the first time, okay, how many games? No, I know what you're doing, Bailey, so I'm not yelling at you. You're doing your producer job of what silly fans will say. How many times has Patrick Mahomes been the leading rusher on the team this year?
I don't think
One
he
time.
Yep.
So we're not going to abandon ship, right? And he slung the ball to everyone. People were catching passes that we didn't even know were on the team. He's
Yeah.
fine. He's fine. They got the W. They're
I
not
think
3-5. you know,
I
We
think
got.
within the first 2 minutes, he threw the ball to 4 or 5 different receivers.
You said what?
I think within the first 2 minutes of the game, he threw the ball to 4 or 5 different receivers.
Hmm.
I mean, that's a lot of weapons.
Yeah, he'll be fine.
Let's move on to college football.
Let's. Whoa! Before we do, oh yeah, we'll move on to college football. But I saw you had something in here about Brady throwing 100,000 yards.
Yep, yep. He's first quarterback to ever do that.
Of course, he's the first quarterback. He's played over 20. Like I
Yeah,
don't know why this stuff is so shocking to people. Number one, you've played over 20 years, and the rules, the way that you know what's more impressive to me, and I'm not saying this because I'm a Miami fan. When Fran Tarkenton had that record in Marino, the reason why I'm saying that's more impressive is because the rules that they had were ridiculous.
yeah. I
You
mean,
could basically murder a receiver coming
mhm.
off the line and do all kinds of things. So for Fran Tarkenton is even more impressive than Dan Marino, and Dan Marino's my guy because of what the way the rules were and what he had to do. So for instance, that record's going to be broken if any quarterback that's Patrick Mahomes, Aaron Rodgers, Lamar Jackson level, if they play long enough, they're going to break that record. If Peyton Manning never had that neck injury, he'd still be playing today.
Yeah,
You know that neck injury made his arms weak, and he'd still be playing the day. You know,
I think it was more impressive just because of the season he's had so far. I didn't know if he was going to make it out of this season with the way everything was going.
oh, now I don't want anybody to get me wrong. It's impressive. I'm not trying to say it's not impressive. I'm
Yeah,
just saying, just like the NBA, NFL, the way rules are, records are gonna. Every time a record's broken, it's like from 20 plus years ago. There's a reason why. The rules are so different. That's why these records lasted for so long.
I mean
You know?
everything's getting soft. Although it's to protect the players. I mean,
Mhm.
you put your hands on Brady and it's a
It's
15-yard
become
penalty.
it's become easier to do everything. Uh,
Mhm.
it's like when the old players complained in the NBA about how sometimes games look like a layup line. Yeah,
Right,
because if you sneeze, it's a foul. You
right.
know, so you've got people like LeBron James is one of the biggest people in the NBA. Why do we have to open the lane for him? If he wants to run people over, let him run people over. If he
Exactly. I
wants to be a
mean,
charging or a blocking foul.
I feel like they almost need to bring some of that back where just it's getting too soft. Players are
Well,
getting
you know what it
frustrated.
is? The good thing about the NBA is you can play both sides of the ball, right?
Hmm.
It's a little more troublesome for NFL because if you're a player that's growing up, a lot of people say this, why would you want to play defense? Why would you want to be a cornerback?
I
You could
mean,
be a really good cornerback and be made to look bad in any game because of the rules.
yeah, and that'll be your only highlight of the game or what
Yeah.
people remember you by.
You have to in the NFL. You have to have an established name because if you notice, the quarterbacks with established names like McCourty, Xavier Howard, and some others, they get away with a lot more hand checking than quarterbacks who don't have those names. I see
Oh,
Xavier Howard do stuff all the time with anybody else that would be a PI.
yeah, I mean, Kenny Pickett, he was playing the Bills and they were just throwing him around like it was nothing, like he was just a little rag doll, and they weren't calling nothing. They would have did that to Tom Brady. They would have kicked the Steelers out of the game.
All right, I cut you off. Let's get to this college. Oh, college was fun. What's going on with college, Bailey?
Clemson, they're proving why they shouldn't
Ah,
even be ranked. I don't think they should have been ranked. Honestly, they
I,
were.
I love this for Clemson fans. I love this for Clemson fans, just like I love it for New England fans. I love it for fans whose teams were never good, and then they catch lightning, and then they get entitled.
Yeah,
I am so ready to Clemson go back to being Clemson before Dabo Sweeney. I am so ready.
they
I
have
am so ready.
they have not played anyone. They played NC State, beat them by 10.
Hmm. NC State's pretty good.
They're all right.
They're better
That
than
was it.
Clemson. I think NC State's problem in that game is they didn't take any risks and they were playing way too long not to lose that game. They should have played Clemson like they played everybody else and they would have won.
Mm.
That's my belief.
But now you have, I mean, that was their only ranked team they played.
They're going to lose
And
to North Carolina. Do they play North Carolina? I don't know, but if they do, they're going to lose to them.
nope, they play Louisville, Miami, and South Carolina.
Okay,
I mean, they can win out, but
they're going to lose to Florida State.
yeah.
They're going to lose
Well,
to North Carolina or Florida State. We'll see.
so they played Florida State. They lost, or they won 34-28.
Hmm.
I mean, that was
They get a
they don't
rematch. It's not going to be nice.
they don't play anyone good.
If they get a rematch, it's not going to be nice.
I don't think so.
Florida State beat LSU. You can
Mm.
have that's the thing in college. You can have one or two bad games and people act like you're terrible. It's like you know what happens. Alabama should have lost what 4 games, but they
I
pulled
mean,
it out.
they've all been
Got to
very
give them the
close.
credit because they pulled them out. But you know, teams get scared. Other teams' pucker factor is what can make great teams win.
Mm.
Alabama, in 2 of those losses that they should have had, the other team had lemon booty,
Yep.
and that was the problem.
And I think with Clemson, you can't even like it finally hit the point, especially against a 35-14 loss against Notre Dame. It wasn't even a game where you could be like, "Oh, it was a fluke. We played bad. It was our only loss,
Yep.
or we should still be ranked." They
Yeah.
got killed.
They got ranked. They got ranked because of their name, what they've been doing over the previous 4 to 5 years. But get them out of
Yeah.
here. Next.
Alabama loses by 1 point, obviously to LSU.
Mhm.
It was ballsy for LSU to go for that 2 point conversion.
Well, I have another problem with this game, and don't tell me about SEC defense. It reminds me of when LSU had Les Miles. Both these teams in the first half played not to lose, and then
Yeah.
they both opened it up in the second half. It's like do that in the beginning. I'm tired of watching these. I'm going to play not to lose, and then now we're going to turn it on. So it was a great game, good game by LSU. Bryce Young did all he could to be the hero in that game, and it just didn't happen. Next.
He didn't he just I don't think Bryce Young looked like he had any weapons, honestly. I mean, he was throwing the
Oh,
ball.
well, here's the problem. He's got weapons. But the thing is, when we see teams that have extraordinary receivers, I mean, listen, they just had in recent years Jalen Waddle,
Yeah.
Devontae Smith, Henry Ruggs III. It's like you're not going to always have that. So it's a step down, but it's not like they have the worst receiving core in the history of college football. They're just not Jalen Waddle, Devontae Smith, and Henry Ruggs III. Who is? Or Jerry Jeudy. Like, come on. That's
What do
hard to
you
replace. So
do you think for that comes into the LSU defense, or is it Alabama coaching?
I think the best thing is the transfer portal. It's neither of them. The transfer portal has allowed guys who have now said, I'm not going to be the third string Alabama linebacker and wait
Right.
2 years and then finally get on and win a national championship. I'm going to transfer to this team where I know I'm going to be the best linebacker on the field.
That's fair.
Because if you're the best linebacker on any other team, it's still going to get you drafted, even as just as high as if you're the third or second best linebacker on Alabama.
Right.
You know, it's what happened to Miami. When the University of Miami used to be good, they had all the players in Florida. They had
Mm.
all the players. Remember Frank Gore could not even sniff
I mean,
the
who
field
who wouldn't want to go to
because
Miami?
of Clinton Portis, Willis McGahee.
Hmm.
Before that, they had Edgerrin James.
Back then, I would have wanted to go to Miami. Warm
Yeah.
weather, beaches, playing
Well,
football.
what would happen with those teams? Those Miami teams were so good because the starters would go out and get replaced by the backups, and all the backups could have been a starter on another football team. They had an
Mm.
entire starting unit as their backups.
Yeah. I,
So
I mean,
it's not.
that's most of the top teams, though.
But that's what's slowly going away.
Yeah.
That transfer portal has helped the parity of college football. That's why Nick Saban hates it. He can't
Yeah.
load up.
Do you think?
Anything that doesn't benefit him, he's gonna rail against.
Do you see him retiring soon
No,
because of it?
no.
You
That
think
he
he'll
no,
stay?
he's gonna want to retire on top. The only way Nick Saban will retire is if Alabama wins 4 games.
What if? What if they do get to that?
What if he? Why does he need to retire? But why does he need to retire? As he quickly reminds Alabama fans, they were happy to win 10 games when he got there. We have very short term memory. Alabama wasn't doing shit before Nick Saban got there.
Yeah.
Florida was single handedly keeping that league alive in the mid 90s to early 2000s.
Hmm.
Auburn showed up once every 4 years. Georgia always disappointed. LSU showed up once every 4 years. There was no LSU before Nick Saban. Again, there's that Nick Saban again.
Yeah.
Okay. Uh, Auburn's claim to fame is we show up once every 4 years, and every now and then we beat Alabama. So why does he have to retire? People get entitled so quick. They want to go back to the Mike Shula days, Alabama. You want to go back to winning 7 games in the SEC? Then go
That's
ahead.
what keeps it entertaining, though.
What
Always
keeps it entertaining?
short memory. They always
Right.
everyone, especially fans. It's always what happened yesterday is the only thing that's ever happened in history.
Well, I don't have short. Keoni
Yeah.
doesn't have short memory. What we got
Georgia,
next?
Georgia beating Tennessee, clearly showing they're the best team in the country. I don't know why Tennessee took over number one.
Tennessee took over number one because they beat. So if you're in the top five and you beat a top four team, you're going to be number one. That's just simple. Uh,
Yeah,
that's what's going to happen. But that's okay. That's why they play the games. If Tennessee beat Georgia, then we would have said, "Yep, that's why they're number one." But Georgia laid the smackdown on them, so Georgia rightfully is at number one.
do you think that Georgia beating Tennessee so clearly will change the view on the college rankings almost and how the committee goes about it?
It
Because I
depends
mean,
on what Tennessee does for the rest of the season. If you get the smackdown laid on you by the number one team, it doesn't really hurt you as much as what you do for the rest of the season. They can't have any nail biters.
yeah,
They've gotta beat the brakes off of people like they were before. You remember Georgia had a couple close games and people were like, and then they went back to laying the smackdown.
yeah. I mean, Georgia, they didn't really play anyone, but they were still dominating for the most part.
Yeah, they were, except for those 2 games. That's why I'm saying, just like Alabama, if Alabama didn't have those 2 other close games that they won, let's say Alabama destroyed every team they played, they lost a nail biter to Tennessee, okay,
Hmm.
and then they before LSU, and then they didn't lose to LSU, they'd be right there.
Yeah.
But we got to take what you do and see what you do for the rest of the way.
So what if? So obviously they have to play SEC championship. Do you
Mhm.
see Alabama any shot making it to the
Not
tournament?
unless LSU loses a game, because if my memory serves me correctly, LSU has a better conference record, and they
Yep.
just beat Alabama. So it's going to be LSU and not
Yep.
Alabama, if I'm correct.
Conference wise, LSU's 5-1, Bama's 4-2.
Yep.
But also Bama plays Ole Miss next week. They're
And
both they're both tied. Mississippi's right above, so that could move them into just contention almost.
that could, but it depends on who wins that game. You know,
Who do you
we'll
see
see.
going top four? Because TCU's right on four now.
TCU deservedly should be four, but I actually like Oregon. Oregon, I like how Oregon has got it together. I'm
Hmm.
not like everyone else counting this hurricane win game for Ohio State against them. Like, that's just being petty and nitpicky, if I want to say.
Yeah.
Everybody else played in pretty much crystal clear conditions. And Ohio State is playing in a monsoon win, and we want to hold it against them. Now, get me wrong, I am no Ohio State lover. I'm from Miami, so I hate Ohio State and I hate Notre
Hmm.
Dame and I hate Florida. So it doesn't pride me to kind of uh, give compliments and not hold things against these guys. You know,
Although they were in a hurricane game, I mean C.J. Stroud he threw 26 times for 76 yards. If it
they
was
were
that bad, don't you think they would have ran it more?
no. Well, yeah, but I mean, they were trying. It's a hurricane game. No one practices. No one spends their week of practice saying, "Hey, there's going to be 900-mile-an-hour winds. This is what we're going to do."
Yeah.
They're adjusting on the fly. That wasn't. No one knew this was it was going to be that bad. So it's like, come on, it's
First,
like settle down.
I feel like as a coach though, you shouldn't be throwing 2016. You're going against Northwestern. It's not like you're going against any
Did
top
they,
team.
did they
There's no
win? Did they win?
they won.
Are they undefeated?
Yeah.
Moving
I
on.
mean, all right.
It's like, what do you
Mich-
want? What do you want me to do? I won the game by 2 touchdowns and I'm
yeah.
undefeated. What else do I? It's like coming home to your wife and saying, I bought you a new car and a diamond bracelet. This is not even to say I'm sorry because I did something wrong. I'm just being nice. Well, what kind of car? What else do I have to do?
Yeah. What do you think about? Because I think it'll be Ohio and Michigan just competing for the Big Ten, and then I mean, who do you got winning that game?
Well,
If
because
they
there's no one on the other side. I don't know if all things. Where are they playing this year? Are they playing in Ohio State or Michigan?
they playing at Ohio State,
I'm gonna split. I'm gonna say the home team's winning. That's all I'm gonna say.
do you think
Michigan,
they both stay in top four if even if or obviously one of them has to lose? Do you think they both stay in top four, whichever one loses or wins?
no, 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 they don't. What did Ohio State been? Did Ohio State play Penn State yet?
I
If they
believe,
did, I want to know
yep,
how
they beat
bad.
them 44-31.
Yeah, and then Michigan flat out destroyed
Yeah,
Penn
that was
State.
not even close.
Yeah, they flat out destroyed Penn State. I think Michigan had that close game. Did they have a close game against Michigan State? No, they didn't. That's why they got beat up afterwards.
Yeah,
Yeah,
State was very happy.
whichever one loses is not going to play in the Big Ten championship, so they're not going to be in the top four.
Who do you see taking that four spot? Because Tennessee's right at five, obviously, but they did just get destroyed by
Got to be,
Georgia.
I say, undefeated TCU or Oregon. That's just my opinion.
I mean, Oregon's 8-1.
Yeah,
LSU, they're at 7-2. Do you think?
they got to win the championship. If
Yeah,
LSU makes it to the SEC championships and beats Georgia, you're going to get Georgia and LSU in. That's going to be two teams from the SEC. Then you're going to have to take the Big Ten champion, and then the fourth person's going to have to either be the Big 12 champion or the Pac-10 champion. I don't see a non-conference champion getting in, of course,
hmm
besides Georgia.
So you think if Georgia loses the SEC championship game, they'll still stay top four?
Yes, because they've been the best team in football all year. You can't count the championship game against them.
Yeah, very true.
Yeah.
All right, Houston wins the World Series.
Whoa. Oh, okay. Go ahead. We'll do Houston.
Second World Series. They've gone to the World Series 4 out of the past 6 times. It was, I mean, they dominated everyone.
Mm-hmm.
I did not want to see them win by any means. I don't think America
Mm-hmm.
wanted to see them win.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think they're going to be right back next year?
I don't know. Don't give a damn. Only thing I got out of Houston winning the World Series. Screw Houston. Screw
Yep.
the Astros. The only thing I got out of them winning the World Series is I was happy that Dusty Baker got a World Series as a coach.
I think
That is
most.
the only thing that almost everyone else in America, besides people who live in the city of Houston, were happy about.
mhm,
Is that Dusty Baker got a championship.
Yep, he was definitely I think the only
Don't
person
care
that
about
deserved it.
Jeremy Pena being the first rookie to win a World Series. Don't care batting 400. Don't care about the millionaire who won more money. I give two craps about him. I care about people who are broke who win millions. So the only story that I have out of that
Dusty
World
Baker.
Series is Dusty Baker at 73 years old
Fair enough.
gets a World Series. Moving on.
Fair enough. Moving on to the NBA, Kyrie Irving. He has to do a lot to get back just to the team. He needs to, let's see, apologize, make a $500,000 donation, complete a couple trainings, meet with Jewish leaders. And he said there was rumors that he said he might retire because of
You
it.
know what? It's cool, let him. You know why? Because I'm speaking as a black person. When white people do stupid shit like this, we want them to apologize. We want them to meet with Jesse Jackson. We want them to meet with uh, Al Sharpton. We want them to go through sensitivity training. We want to do all this. When men say stupid shit like this about women, we want them to apologize. We want them to go to sensitivity training. We want them to meet with whatever feminist organization you can meet. So we got to be held accountable to the same degree. I'm tired of stupid Kyrie fans trying to explain to me that he's smarter than everybody else, and he's saying that he's smarter than everybody else because he reads books as if he's the first person in the world to ever read a goddamn book.
Mm-hmm.
We all read books, Kyrie. You can't say stupid stuff or do stupid things continuously and then keep using the excuse of that I'm smarter than everybody else. You can't be smarter than everybody else if you keep doing stupid stuff. It doesn't make any sense. So, I don't care about his requirements because these are none of these things he would be doing on his own. If he was doing these things on his own, then I would care. If you're not going to do it on your own, then don't do it on your own. Okay, so go ahead and retire because we've seen millions of people, not millions, we've seen hundreds of people, athletes go from millionaires to broke. The way you don't go from millionaire to broke is by alienating all your sponsors and being able to be put in projects, do commercials, and other things when you retire. So go ahead and retire. Go ahead and retire right now. Have
I feel
fun.
like, I feel like with such a platform, I mean, clearly no one should or can say that stuff. But with his platform, I don't get the purpose of saying it or doing
Well, I get the
maybe
purpose.
he
He's
promoted the
smart. You don't get it because he's smarter than you, Bailey.
yeah.
He's smarter than you. And then the people that are always going, well, I thought it was free speech. Yes, you have free speech, but we keep saying you have free speech, but you're not free from consequences. I can say a lot of things on this program right now, and I'm voicing free speech. But there are some things that I could say that I'm going to have consequences if I
Mm,
say them. So, yeah, you can say whatever the hell you want, okay?
yeah,
But you're not free of consequences.
very true. Do you think the punishment that he's getting in order to come back to the NBA is deserved?
Yes, deserves because you didn't do it on your own. Anytime you do something wrong and you don't fix it on your own, then whatever punishment you get because you took the hands. If you come out, let's say I do something and I feel that I was justified. You
Mm,
got to pick the hills that you want to die on, right?
yeah.
You got to pick the hills that you want to die on. If it's an accident, it's an accident. Hell, people have lied. I posted that. I watched a couple of it, but I didn't watch the whole thing. I just thought the part that I saw was good. It's a terrible example, but at least you're apologizing.
Right.
When you do this song and dance and wordplay and come off condescending as if everyone else is out to get you and you're smarter than everybody else, then you get what you get. You get what you get.
Fair enough. Bucks stay undefeated, 9-0. Do you think? I know it's still early. It's only 9 games in. Do you think they can break Golden State's 73-9 record?
I have no idea. I gotta get to the midway point before I can even think about that. They could go on an easy 4 game losing streak, and then that question's
Right.
gone. You know.
I mean, Giannis, he's looking like an MVP candidate already. I think it's just a matter of whether they stay healthy or not at this point.
Yeah, Giannis is looking like he's looked for the last 3 years, so there's no surprise there.
Right. Um, Lakers lose 2 in a row.
Ah! Ah!
Everybody
Ah!
talks about them all the time.
One
But
of my
I
joys
feel
in
like
life.
you gotta. What's that?
One of my joys in life.
I love seeing the Lakers lose.
Every time LeBron James goes to a team, you have to mortgage the farm because it's always win mode now, and a lot of people say that's what you should do. But then you also have to reap the rewards that if he stays, it's not going to be pretty. But he's never stayed. Once he left Cleveland for Miami, and they mortgaged the future and won those championships, and then Pat Riley them said, "Well, we're not mortgaging the future anymore. I'm out." Same thing with Cleveland. Mortgage the future. Stayed there. Got rid of Wiggins. Mortgaged the future. Wiggins and Kyrie might have turned out to be a really special thing.
Yeah.
That's when Kyrie really hit, really started being how he is once that relationship happens. So who knows? And then you go to the Lakers, you mortgage the future, you get your bubble championship, and now this is what you got.
Yep.
And he's not leaving like he normally does once it gets this bad. So you're just going to have a terrible team with King James on it.
I think he'll definitely retire there.
Well,
I mean,
they're about to go through another Kobe thing where they're going to suck
yeah,
for the rest
they
of
had
his career.
they had those 2 wins in a row. Once Russell went to the bench, and everyone was freaking out, saying they're right back on top, and then they lose to it again.
Moving on.
I don't see them ever being good with him on the team again. Golden State loses 5 in a row, 3-7 right now. Do you think they're tanking, or do you think they're
No,
just
no, and I know that's not from you, so I'm not calling you stupid. That's a stupid fan thing. They're not tanking. They've got Steph Curry, Poole, and Klay Thompson. They'll be fine. If they
yeah,
if they had a roster like the Lakers, I would be worried, but they don't. So I'll be fine. You know what I want to get into, Bailey?
What's that?
I want to get into hot mess.
Let's get into it.
Right, Bailey's coming out the first hot mess. We've got the helmet up. It's got to be the Oakland freaking Raiders. They have lost 3, not 1, not 2, but 3 17-point leads this season. Oh, and they've been shut out.
Yep, by the Saints.
Hot mess. On What the F Sports, we like to say, what the fuck?
I think Devontae's regretting going there easily. I don't.
You think?
I,
You think
I
he
don't.
is?
I don't know who's regretting it more, Devontae or Derek Carr for just staying there. I don't know who's to blame at this point.
I don't think he's regretting it. I just think
No.
they're really bad. No, I just think they're really bad right now, and I don't think he's regretting anything yet. They'll chalk it up. Oh, it's the first year. Blah 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 blah. I don't think he's regretting it, but I do think the Raiders are a hot mess. Go ahead, Josh McDaniels, doing good that second go around as head coach. Good job. He'll be back in New England in a year and a half.
Oh yeah.
All
Do you
right.
think they'll fire him midway through the season or after the season?
Not this season. It's his first season, right? This is his first season, right?
Yep.
Okay,
I,
yeah.
I think he took over midway. I want to say maybe midway through.
No. They hired him in the offseason. They had an interim coach last year when they fired him.
That's right.
All right. Then we've got the Colts.
They're bad. They're gonna stay bad. Um,
Bailey says they're bad and they're going to stay bad.
I'm trying to think of who they need. Clearly they need a quarterback. They need
So
new coach.
what retiring quarterback are they going to get next year? Are they going to get Brady?
Maybe Rodgers. They might get Rodgers. They might pull him in.
No, Rodgers, even though he's having a bad year, he's too good. They got to get somebody else. They got to get someone who's on their last leg and it's about to fall off. So they did the Phillip
they
Rivers experience. They did the Carson Wentz experience. They've done the
could
Matt
bring-
Ryan experience. Maybe they should dig Jay Cutler out of retirement.
I was gonna say they could bring Ryan Fitzmagic out of the retirement. He could work up some stuff.
So, speaking of Aaron Rodgers, guess who else has entered the hot mess? It is
They better be on there.
the Packers.
They better be on there. 3-6 right now.
And
Rodgers.
then lost to Detroit, who hasn't been able to beat anybody.
No. Detroit's had a lot of close games. I feel like that they could have won with. I don't know what they could have won with, but they could have won. They were there.
The confidence level of your voice when you said that tells me all I need to know.
Ye-
And the fourth team. Hey, this team has the distinct pleasure of knocking the Washington Commanders out of the hot mess category
That's
and knocking the Broncos out of, because the Broncos and the Commanders have been on hot mess every week since we've started hot mess, and this team has knocked them out, and that's your Carolina Panthers. Not yours, but
No.
you know what I mean.
Good Lord, no. I don't know
God,
how you could be a fan of them.
God. The Bengals look like against the Panthers. The Bengals look like the greatest team in NFL history the
Yeah.
other.
Joe Mixon, 5 touchdowns, 4 in the
I
first half. The odds, I looked it up. The odds of a person, especially Joe Mixon, even Joe Mixon against the Panthers, scoring
mhm.
4 touchdowns in the first half was almost 55 trillion. And the Panthers let that happen.
Ugh. Wow.
I
Well,
don't.
Panthers, Green Bay, Colts, and the Raiders. You are a hot mess.
Yep.
All right, what do we got tonight, Bailey? Before we wrap it up, what's tonight?
Monday Night Football, Ravens versus Saints. A win for the Ravens keeps them on top of their division solely. Loss, they'll be tied with the Bengals. And then the Saints with a win, they will be tied for first place with the Bucks and Falcons, which is not
The
very
Bucks and
good.
Falcons. I mean, the Falcons and the Saints are going to keep the damn Bucks alive in this conversation.
Hmm.
All they got to. The NFC South is freaking terrible.
It's it went
It's
from very good
terrible.
to very bad.
Just
I mean,
terrible.
I
Well,
I don't see how the what is it? The number one, you're 4-5. That should not even be allowed. I feel like. I think you just need to throw someone in there just to be good, just to make it
no,
look.
you gotta win your division. I mean, your division winners gotta get something. You won your division, but I get what you're saying.
Hmm.
Well, we've got some notable injuries. We've got
Yep.
Marcus Drews for the Ravens, Marcus Peters, Rashad Perriman, Demarcus Robinson. I don't. Some of them are questionable and probable. So maybe.
Yep.
Is
Mark.
anybody definitely out for the
So
Ravens?
Rashad Bateman, he's out for the season. Robinson and Peters, I believe they're questionable. I think Peters is definitely going to be out. And then Mark Andrews was.
That's going to be the biggest one right there.
They said yesterday he was out. So unless something
Right?
dramatically changes today,
That's going to be a
um,
big one.
I mean they have Isaiah Likely, who's their backup tight end. He did great
That
last.
likely is not going to be any help.
He did do great last week when he
I
filled
just
in.
wanted to, I just wanted to do the joke, Bailey. I just
I
wanted
know.
to do the joke.
Do you think they can win? I mean, so many key injuries, especially in offense.
Yeah, I think they can win. Like we always say in the NFL, anyone can win. The Saints defense, if they play the way we know they can play, they've had a couple of lapses this year, but again, it goes back to something I said uh, earlier in this episode. Your defense can't continue to have three and outs
No,
all game. It's going to wear on them. Okay, so um, got to go.
I think I don't see it being either or, like a predictable offense or defense game. I mean, you have Lamar, who even without weapons, he can still run the ball. Um, and then you have Alvin Kamara coming off of a great game last week. So I
He
think both
can. He
offenses
can.
can get it done.
Lamar can run the ball, but I don't see the Saints losing containment a lot. I don't see that happen. Um, I'm going to say there's going to be some coverage sacks tonight. There's going to be some coverage sacks. They're going to cover well, which means they're going to give their defensive line time to get to him, and I don't think they'll break containment and push behind him. That way, he has these windows where he can take off for 45 yards.
I mean, they know what their game plan is going to be. It's going to be to run the ball for the most part. That's maybe their dangerous weapon.
They with these RPOs, I wonder if we just go back to the old school how we used to stop the triple option or the option. Hey, you're assigned to man, whether he has the ball or not, lay him out. Like if you're the linebacker on this RPO, you're going after Lamar. Who
Hmm.
cares if he hands it or not? You're tackling him anyway. And if he has the ball, he's screwed. If he's handed off, someone else will get the other guy.
Yeah.
I don't know what else you've got to do, but I don't think they'll break containment. Giants Nation says, "Man, I am so mad we traded Tony. Dude already breaking ankles in his first game with limited snaps." You are correct.
They didn't play him that much, but when he did, he looked good. He looked very good.
Yes,
He
he
had a
did great.
quarterback that could throw him the ball.
I want who is Giants Nations? Do I know you, Giants Nation?
Who did the Giants play
I wonder.
next week?
It's not Katie. I don't think it's Katie because Katie's the Giants fan. She would just come on with Jason's account. But we didn't talk about the Giants today, did we?
They didn't play last or
They-
this
They're on a
the other day.
bye. Who do they got coming
They
up
play the
next week?
Texans next week.
Let's talk about Giants for a second, just because Giants Nation is here. They've got the Texans next week. I
Yep.
think all consider that a dub, a
If they
win,
don't
right?
win, if they don't win that game, I don't want to talk
Why
about
would you? Why are you putting that juju on them with Giants Nation here? Giants Nation is his or her first time on this channel, and the first thing you're going to do is slander them with
it. I'm not
what if they
slandering.
lose to the Texans?
If they do lose, I don't want to talk about them.
There is no if. They're going to win that game. There's no
They
way they're going
the
to lose to the Texans. Are you
the
kidding me?
the Texans put up a decent fight at the beginning against the Eagles.
What do you mean they put up a decent fight? Yeah,
It was
okay.
close.
And
It was close. Who knows what the Giants will do? Giants could disappoint. All right, let's get into next week's picks.
I want to know. No, you're not getting off that
What?
easy. Who are the Giants playing after the Texans?
Um, they got to be playing the Cowboys soon, I believe.
Ooh, Giants
Is it
Nation.
the Cowboys?
Ooh, that's
No,
your show me
it's
game.
Lions. It's Lions and then Cowboys.
Oh, Lions. So hey, what is the Giants' record right now?
They are they're third in the NFC East. Obviously, I want to say they're 6-2, maybe 6-3.
So we're looking at the Giants possibly being 8-2 or 7-3 going into that Cowboys games.
Mhm.
Giants Nation says, "Listen, if I lose to the Texans, I'm done and I'm going to my underground dungeon."
Yeah, so the Giants are 6-2, Cowboys 6-2, Eagles
That's the
8
show me
now.
game. They can't. I hate the cliche trap game and all that, but listen, you got to take care of Detroit. You got to take care of the Texans, and then you're looking at possibly who are the Cowboys. I know I'm asking you this on the spot. Who are the Cowboys playing the
Ne-
next two games?
Next week they play Packers, which they should be able to handle business, and then they play the Vikings, who are 6-1, I
So
believe.
we're looking at possibly the 8-2 Giants versus the 8-2 Cowboys.
Possibly. Yep.
Mm.
I think the Cowboys will have to definitely. I think the Cowboys and Vikings game, that will be a prove it game for both teams, because I think both teams have a good record, but they haven't shown it yet, I feel like. And then obviously once the Cowboys and Giants meet each other, that'll really prove who is going to be competing with the Eagles.
All right, competing with the Eagles.
Yep.
Do the Giants have anything to offer against the Eagles? That's going to be the question.
I think they're going to have to rely on Saquon a lot.
They might get three teams into the playoffs. It's going to be crazy. They might literally it might be those three, and then the division champs from the other divisions going to the championship.
The only other winning teams you have in the NFC are the Seahawks and Vikings. Everybody else either has a losing record or they are even.
Okay, instead of pick of the week for next week, let's do this. Let's do the upset of the week for next week. And no, you cannot say Texans. I knew you were so ready to say it. You were so ready to say Texans versus Giants. You were so ready. You're not going to believe mine, but I'm going to let you go first. Mine's going to be crazy.
I'm going to go Jaguars versus Chiefs. I think that'll be...
Ooh.
That's a very big underdog, but I don't know. I just feel like something's going to happen.
You want to know what mine is? You ready?
What is it?
My upset of the week is Packers beat Cowboys.
That's big. That's very big. Maybe the
That's my
Packers can get off the hot mess.
That's my. I like what you did there. The Packers get off the hot mess. All right, everybody. We are going to do an evening episode tomorrow, talking, recapping some other things from this weekend, and talking about what happened in the Monday Night Football game, and then we may also do a Thursday night special. So just make sure you're subscribed so you can get a notification and see when we do that tomorrow. We've got two local high school kids that are heavily into sports that are going to be on tomorrow to talk Panthers football because they hate the Panthers so much. It's their team and some other things. So I'm going to have some people on in the future. If you ever want to be on the show, email me at keoniproductions@gmail.com. That's keoniproductions@gmail.com. Tell me you want to be on the show and what you want to talk about, and we'll get you on here and we'll have a great time with What the F Sports with Keoni the Lazy Boy and friends. Everybody that was here, I want you to know one thing. You're awesome. Okay? Thank you for all the support. It's been Bailey, we're getting it going.
Yep.
And it's been great. So everybody out there, have a good one and we'll see you.